Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine Thursday? I wanted to stop by and do a little bit of an emergency live update type of situation because there have been some new filings in the Elijah Blue conservatorship case. It's been a few weeks probably since I've made a video about this, and there are a lot of not a lot. There's 5 documents. Just so you know, I'm a little bit of a time crunch today, so I won't be able to really spend as much time on these documents kind of like line by line like I usually do because it's, a lot of pages and I do have to get going and run some personal errands in just a little while. But I did want to come and give you all a little bit of an update because the next court hearing in this case is on today's the January 25th. It's on the 29th, so it's in a few days. So as expected, we are seeing some court filings start to roll in. So let me show you what was filed here. Okay, so here is the LA court website. Now we had read everything, I believe, up to this. Oh, I guess I never saw this. Did I see this report of the court appointed? I don't know if I saw this right here. But we saw this, we looked at the objection and all that. Okay, so there's a new batch of documents, as you can see, started being filed on, that were all filed on the 22nd. Today's the 25th. And thank you to the person that did bring this to my attention. It's like a backwards thing here. Someone emailed me and I immediately jumped on this live because I wasn't even going to make a video today, but I did want to look at this. So let me pull them up. I have not read these documents. I've not read the news. Apparently there's stuff going on in the news, but I wanted to be, first of all, I didn't really have time to read anything in the news because I needed to get on this live, but also I wanted to kind of just like take on a first impression. All right, so let me pull up that first one. The first document we looked at so what are they? There's 3 declarations, something called a supplement and something called a report. So we'll start with the first one, the lowest one down, report, 4 pages long. Pulling it up. Okay. As you can see, this is a report of the court-appointed counsel that Brenda Penny did appoint to be Elijah Blue's court-appointed attorney, basically like the Sam Ingham of it all, for appointment of temporary conservator of the estate, findings and recommendations. So, oh wait, hold on. This isn't John Guy. I thought it was John Guy. See, look, I'm just doing this live. Okay. So this is actually filed by not the person, because I was expecting to see a report from him. This is filed by Elijah Blue's attorney that he chose. Okay, so it says findings and recommendations. Elijah Blue opposes the petition for the conservatorship. The proposed conservatee, that's Elijah Blue, has in the past struggled with addiction. He does not require a conservatorship at this time. I have reviewed the petitions for appointment of a temporary and a general probate conservator. He says he's also reviewed the confidential supplemental information, including the declaration. He has read the report of the probate investigator and the report of that court-appointed counsel, John Guy. So it says interviews. This is coming from Elijah Blue's lawyer. It says the proposed conservatee, Elijah, and I have been in almost constant contact for the past several weeks. I have had likely 20 or more telephone conversations with him, exchanged emails, text messages with him, and met him in person, both before and after the hearing on January 5th. Elijah maintains that he does not want or need a conservatorship, and he is making efforts to reconcile his marriage with his wife, Marie Angela King, and to manage his finances appropriately. He acknowledges that in the past he has struggled with addiction, but he is in treatment, attends AA meetings, submits voluntarily to drug tests, and has been clean and sober for months. He categorically denies the mental health allegations in the pleadings. Elijah understands the significance of this proceeding and what it is that his mother is trying to accomplish. His relationship with his mother, the petitioner, is strained. Elijah has alleged that his mother was responsible for him being taken to a facility in Mexico against his will. He does not believe he needs anyone to manage his finances. But if one is required by the court to do so, he believes his mother is not the best candidate. He states that his mother is of advanced age, suffers from manic depressive disorder, and herself struggles with chemical dependence. I'm just reading the court document, okay? The lawyer says, I also talked to Mary Angela King, that's the wife. Despite the representations of Cher, Miss King appears supportive of Elijah's desire to remain clean and sober and looks forward to continuing to work on the couple's marriage. I did not believe it was appropriate to communicate with Cher. She is represented by counsel, and Mr. Guy's report provides her position. I doubt anything would be added by my speaking to her directly. I've also spoken with Elijah's doctor, Dr. Howard Samuels. He disagrees with the establishment of a conservatorship and is in support of Elijah maintaining control over his finances, as he has been, perhaps with the assistance of a business manager or with supported decision making. No. I read that supported decision making law, and it's not what y'all think it is. I have reviewed the confidential information. I would get into it, but I don't have time today. I've reviewed the confidential information, including Cher's declaration and the declarations of some of Elijah's siblings, including one that was mislabeled as to the identity of the declarant. Okay, so this is, I don't know what this means. They apparently, in that confidential information, something happened where somebody's identity was mislabeled. I'm not really sure what that is. I understand Cher's point of view and give the declarations of Elijah's siblings the weight that they deserve, given what Elijah has relayed to me about the family dynamic. Conclusion. Although the confidential information does present concerning issues and allegations relating to Elijah's addiction and previous episodes, and the report of the report of the probate investigator relied on hearsay statements of treatment providers that Elijah believes to be beholden to his mother, there's a clue. There's a clue. The probate investigator relied on hearsay, and the hearsay was of people who Elijah believes to be beholden to Cher, people loyal to Cher, conflicts of interest, like I was bringing up whenever I spoke about it last. In the weeks since the last hearing, Elijah has remained sober, submitted to drug tests, managed his resources appropriately, and addressed his creditors as necessary. With the proper support of a business manager and Dr. Samuels, as well as continued participation in AA, it does not seem that a conservatorship, whether temporary or general, is appropriate in this case. Okay, so that was a report of Elijah's lawyer. So let's just go up the chain here. What was the next thing that was up? Oh, did I delete it? Oops. Okay, whatever. So now I'll just go with the declarations. I guess I'll just go with the declarations. So I guess let's get to John Guy. Here's John Guy's declaration. I knew he had made one. Okay. Declaration of John Guy. So this is the court-appointed counsel. He's asking for somebody to pay his fees. I mean, I really don't know who would pay the fees in this case. I don't know if Elijah would be responsible for it or what, but because like if he doesn't get put in a conservatorship, then why would his estate be at issue? I mean, I think in my non-legal opinion, Elijah Blue needs to sue Cher in this lawsuit for an anti-slap. Like she's trying to stop his First Amendment rights, stop him from saying stuff publicly. I don't know. Then he could get his attorney's fees. But I don't know. That's just my non-legal opinion. So this guy is the one Brenda Penny appointed. This is what I thought we were reading a second ago. I, John Guy, was appointed by the court, Brenda Penny, to represent the proposed conservatee Elijah Blue Allman in this action. Attached as Exhibit A is an itemization of the services I rendered on his behalf. To summarize, I think Cher should have to pay this, if anybody, because she brought him into court for no damn reason. To summarize, I spent 13 hours rendering services for Elijah Blue, Since there is an estate, I request, he wants to be paid out of the estate. The hourly rate of $250. So he wants $3,200 in fees from Elijah Blue. My fee should be paid by the trustee. That's the one who is holding on to Elijah's money at Cher's behest. Yeah, he wants some of Greg Allman's money. $3,200 for what? Okay, here's his invoice. What does he do? Oh, reading pleadings took him $250. Talking on the phone. I placed the document in a sealed envelope. Whatever, dude. Okay, so that's another document. I hope it's denied. Okay, now let's go to the declaration of Elijah's doctor. Okay, this is 8 pages long, declaration of Dr. Howard Samuels. I am a licensed therapist with a doctorate in clinical psychology from Antioch University in 1996. I have a private practice in LA, founder and CEO of The Hills Treatment Center in LA. I specialize in the treatment of mood and addictive disorders, love addiction, and substance abuse intervention. Elijah Blue Allman is a client of mine. He meets with me weekly, and I speak with him on a daily basis. Attached as exhibits A and B are 2 letters I wrote regarding Mr. Allman. I wrote the first one on January 3rd and the second on January 18th. I have personal knowledge of the facts set forth in the letters and would testify if I needed to. Okay. So this is one of the letters. To whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter to affirm that Elijah is a private client of mine and that I have been serving him in my capacity as therapist. I have 2 sessions with him a week. He contacted me December 15th, 2023, after returning from a mental health facility in Mexico. To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Allman has not partaken of any psychedelics, substances, or otherwise since October 1st, 2023. He has abstained from all mood and mind-altering substances since December 15th last year. So he hasn't been taking any mood or mind-altering substances at all whatsoever for over a month. As is the case with clients who have modeled well, Mr. Allman is a pleasure to work with. He presents as very intelligent and completely aware of his issues surrounding his current circumstance. We have discussed his addiction issues, and he has proven receptive to profound changes in this area of his life. In the time I've worked with him, Mr. Allman has done everything I've asked of him. He attends 12-step meetings. He works closely with his sponsor, which helps him remain transparent in our sessions. Aside from being a licensed therapist with a doctorate, I'm also an attendee of Alcoholics Anonymous with over 38 years of continuous sobriety and the former owner of the Hills Treatment Center, a world-renowned substance abuse, drug, and alcohol rehabilitation center. In therapy, Elijah has had the opportunity to process many things. We have made great strides with his emotional problems, which include anxiety and depression. More importantly, he has expressed a profound interest in his own wellness and well-being. To that end, Elijah has stated unequivocally that he will continue to see me privately twice a week, as well as submit to random drug and alcohol testing by urinalysis. He remains willing to participate in a drug and alcohol outpatient program. So he's willing to even go to an outpatient program. He's even stated on occasion that he is open to taking medication if warranted, although I do not feel as though we are there yet. Okay, so good to know. It should be noted that I have not myself witnessed any schizoaffective traits, nor has there been any indication of such in the psychological testing he has shown me from the Camden Institute. So this indicates to me that they're trying to say he has schizophrenia, and his own doctor is saying, I haven't seen that, and I've been treating him. I have also never witnessed any altercations between Mr. Allman and his mother. However, it remains my belief that the relationship between the two is oftentimes counterproductive and triggering for Elijah. I could see that. In order to alleviate tensions, I have agreed to work in tandem with a business manager to help Elijah better manage his finances with a stipulation in place that should he fail a drug test or fall under the suspicion of drug or alcohol use, the funds will be cut off immediately. I don't I don't like this. I don't like it at all. Who in the are these people to cut off somebody's funds because they participate in a substance? I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying, yes, please go out and do substances. Actually, please don't. If you don't start, then you never get addicted, But I'm willing to work with his business manager to cut him off. Fuck you, dude. I'm sick of this. I'm sorry. Excuse my language, but I'm sick of it. I'm literally sick. This is ridiculous. To my knowledge, Almond has remained clean and sober and continues to work on addiction and relapse prevention, with our last talk revolving around his someday helping someone else recover from drug and alcohol abuse. I think it's safe to say I do not foresee any relapse anytime soon, although I concur with the common thought that it always remains a possibility if Elijah chooses to waylay the work. Okay, yeah, it always remains a possibility, but it always remains a possibility for everybody. And this is one of the things I don't like about the AA programming is that it's like a religion. It's like the original sin is you are an addict. By definition, by default, forever for the rest of your life, you're a sick addict forever. Ugh. You can't be like the rest of us that's not addicts. Like, I don't like that. It's like you're born dirty, you're just dirty, you're nasty, you're not redeemable for the rest of your life. You get to be treated differently than everybody else because you've struggled with this. And I don't like it. I don't like it. And that's why I don't really like to promote people going to AA. But look, listen, if it keeps you out of literally slavery in the California probate courts, I could see why you would do it. Ugh. Exhibit B. This is from January 18th. It has been a little over 2 weeks since my last missive, and I wanted to take this opportunity to give you an update on Elijah's progress. To date, I see him in my office in person once a week. He also checks in with me once a day, usually over my morning coffee, where we discuss his plans for the day, as well as go over his meeting schedule. I'm in contact with Elijah 7 days a week. As a clean and sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, I have also personally seen him at several of the 12-step meetings that I attend. Hate this. In addition to seeing him out and about with other clean and sober people, I don't know why this is affecting me emotionally right now. Like, I don't know why. I just don't like it. I don't like how they're infantilizing a grown ass man who's literally been held prisoner in Mexico, trafficked and tortured, kidnapped and locked up, falsely imprisoned. And now it's like, yeah, I'm keeping tabs on him, Your Honor. I'm his doctor and I'm also seeing him in the meetings. Like, it's just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm speaking only for myself. Anonymous. Right. Thank you, Cindy. Is it anonymous if his doctor's telling people he goes there? Is it anonymous if it's not, they've made it a public record? I don't like it. I'm sorry. I don't like it. And I know that some of y'all do find it useful and have found help in the AA. And I don't mean to diminish that, but this mindset I don't like. And I'm sorry. I just don't like it. I'm sorry. In addition to seeing him out and about with other clean and sober people, I've also other sources who have seen him. So I'm keeping tabs. My sources are keeping tabs. I'm associating whoever he's hanging out with. I'm associating with him necessarily being like them. I don't like it. I don't like it. For me, this serves as adequate proof when coupled with his clean, drug-free drug tests that he is working a very good recovery program, one that is not only respectable, also commendable. All of the many years I've been working with Elijah, I dare say I've never experienced him being so high. Oh, this man has been working with him in years. Again, I'm not, this isn't checking out for me. I don't like it. He's handling his money responsibly and not acting out with bad behavior. I don't know who the fuck this doctor is to decide how somebody's spending their money, if it's responsible or not. Who is he? Who is he to decide if somebody else is spending their money responsibly? I shouldn't even be getting mad because he is like defending Elijah and stuff, but it's like with friends like this, who needs an enemy? He's maintaining a safe distance from the tempestuous relationship with his mother, which has in the past been triggering for him. As a therapist, I think it's safe to say that Almond's transparency, capacity for insight, and his motivation to better himself is refreshing. They're talking about him like he's a 10-year-old, like a 15-year-old boy. He's doing well. No, it is my intention to continue to work with him and his continued express permission, submit up. Okay, so I guess this is him saying he gave me express continued permission to write this. I still don't like it. I don't really care whose permission. I don't like it. That a judge gets to ask a doctor about private notes just to decide if someone has their freedom. I don't like it. I'm getting more and more sick of it. But that was all that was. Okay, now we have a declaration from Marie Angela, Elijah's wife. So let's pull that up. Oh my goodness. Dead by Daylight said AANA is a bunch of people complaining about being sober. It is. That's Steve-O's whole channel. It's just glory days of when he was using drugs and acting a fool and complaining about how, I don't know, it's very weird. I don't like this division. Like when you stop struggling as much, when you're not in active addiction anymore, it's like you never get to just reintegrate back into normal people's society. And I understand some of y'all like want to just be separate and feel different and stuff, but like some people don't. And I don't think it's fair to force them to be this like scarlet letter society reject for the rest of their life that isn't just considered to be like everybody else. Again, if y'all want to do that and isolate yourself and act like you're different, that's fine. That's you. But I don't like how this is like the prescribed programming. I don't like it. Yep. That's why a lot of people don't promote AA anymore. It affects you because you care. Yeah, probably, Joanna. Um, they don't allow you to ever stop going to meetings. So it's a cult. That's a cult. Sorry. Period. Thank you, Laurie. This is what I keep trying to say. The courts don't belong in these matters unless the person has committed a crime. Thank you. What the hell do these people have to do with anybody's money? Why? It's stupid. And that's another thing, too. Maybe if y'all just chill out and let people hit rock bottom and spend all their damn money, maybe they would actually learn something. Maybe. But they got their mama stepping in and taking the money from them. It's stupid. It's all stupid. In my opinion, Cher's stupid. This doctor's stupid. They all stupid. I think they stupid. That's my opinion. I can say what I want. Okay. Here's the declaration from the wife. Filed the 22nd. I'm married to Elijah Allman. I've known him for 12 years. I've been with him daily since the last hearing, January 5th. He is a brilliant musical and conceptual artist and a kind, thoughtful, and generous man. He is the love of my life, and I absolutely adore him. He is also a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. We live together as a married couple, and I see the irrefutable daily effort he is making to stay sober. He attends AA meetings 5 to 6 times a week. He is free of drugs, and now that I've reclaimed our stolen vehicle from his mother's property, he can and does attend daily AA meetings affordably. He's tending to his finances, getting his bills paid, and ensuring that his property is under his control. I strongly disagree that he has any mental health disorders. I have never seen my husband exhibit any atypical behavior while he has been sober. So she's making a distinction. She's saying maybe he's acted a little bit of a fool here and there, but never when he was sober. Elijah is and has been under the care of a doctor, a well-known mental health and addiction specialist to treat his addiction, and he's flourishing as a result. The doctor has been instrumental in Elijah's care and recovery. Well, I'm glad to see that. Smash that like button if you love and support me. Thank you, Christy. Make sure to subscribe. Yeah. I do have a video about this coming soon. Okay. However, between August of 2021 and the filing of this conservatorship petition, Elijah trusted his mother, Cher, to assist with his recovery. Since then, Cher has used her wealth, fame, and power to cut me, the wife, out from any decision making regarding that process. I was either not told of his whereabouts or the facilities to which he was, in my view, forcibly admitted or told, and I wasn't told after he was admitted. One such facility was the J. Flowers Health Institute of Houston, Texas. Although I am his wife, I was not allowed to call or visit him when he was there. But it appeared that Cher and her team had access to Elijah's information at that facility. I point this out to testify to the control that I have witnessed Cher exercise over those who she entrusts to provide, quote, care to Elijah, and those who have provided some of the opinions on which the petitioner's petition is based. Okay. So this is another clue. They're saying, in my opinion, what I think they're saying is these J. Flowers Health Institute people probably submitted things to bolster Cher's point in that confidential declaration or that confidential supplemental information. And here's Mary Angela King saying, okay, well, those people didn't even let his wife talk to him. And they were basically like running the agenda for Cher and talking to Cher about all his health problems, which legally I don't really think they even supposed to be doing because he's an adult. Further, Cher's affect when Elijah was at that Texas facility was curious. I was staying in her home during that time. I would ask her daily for any updates that she might have on Elijah's condition. She informed me that she was, quote, not interested in his everyday activities. Rather, she entrusted his care to her personal assistant, Mrs. Jennifer Ruiz, who I understand has a criminal record. And Jennifer Ruiz, we've talked about her. She shares assistant and she is the mother or aunt of this Donovan Ruiz person who's currently serving time in, I believe, a federal prison in the Pacific Northwest for selling certain substances that cause someone to die. I don't know. Y'all can go watch the other video, but this Jennifer Ruiz, we've talked about her. Mary Angela goes on to say on October 17, 2023, Elijah was brought to Mexico. So he was brought in October to Mexico, to an annexo, to a prison, a legalized prison in Mexico that is very difficult to get out of. I was told by a doctor hired by his mother that he would be doing holistic alternative therapy there. Upon arrival in Mexico, Elijah found out he was not there for holistic treatment and he could not leave. Once I learned of the situation, I traveled daily. She traveled daily from LA to Mexico to rescue her husband from the captivity his mother arranged. This is scary. At first, neither I nor my attorneys were allowed on the property. With the help of the United States and Mexican governments, on December 15th, 2 months after Elijah was held captive, the Mexican federal agents escorted Elijah out of the makeshift prison type facility known as Baja Rehab, where he was being held against his will. He was dropped off at the U.S. border and was met by my attorney who drove him safely back onto U.S. soil and into this is human trafficking, in my opinion, if true. International. The Mexican federal government was involved in this rescue recon mission. Since that time, Elijah has attended AA meetings, drug tested regularly. He speaks with his doctor on a daily basis and sees him in person weekly. As his wife, I feel it necessary to read the 12 steps of the Alcoholics Anonymous books. I'm also learning about what the sober community calls triggers. I believe people in Elijah's family are emotional triggers for him. I've witnessed and experienced abuse from his mother, the petitioner, but also his siblings, Chaz and Devin, and of course, Jennifer Ruiz. So I'm assuming this is all the people that provided declarations in the supplemental confidential information. Devin, Chaz, Ruiz, the Flowers people. I mean, it was just a freaking boom, 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 boom. Like they will get anybody to write a declaration. It is vital that Elijah be surrounded by sober people who are a part of the AA community. I don't really agree, but listen, I'm not his wife. Who am I? I'm some girl. I've never spoken to the man. But listen, if it is really what Elijah wants, that's all I care about. In my opinion, doesn't matter. I know for a fact he doesn't want to be being held captive in Mexico, but he was. It makes me wonder if there wasn't federal agents involved and his wife trying for his freedom so hard, would he still be there? Where would he be today? Because Cher wanted to act like he was missing. He's missing, Your Honor. I don't know where he is. But you the one put him in that rehab. Talking about I don't know where he is. I have lived with and known Cher for 11 years. She is categorically unfit to serve as his conservator. She is not capable of managing her own affairs. Ooh, got her. She is not capable of managing her own affairs. let alone Elijah's. To my knowledge, she's never known the security code to her own home. She doesn't drive. She does not prepare her own meals or dress herself. Oh, that's pretty embarrassing. Don't even dress herself. And has admitted to me that she is a manic depressive, quote, quote. Her personal assistant, Jennifer Ruiz, lives at her home 24/7. I've now seen Ruiz taken over petitioner's private and public affairs for many years now. I have no doubt that if the petitioner were to be appointed conservator of Elijah's estate, that responsibility would be delegated to Miss Ruiz. And others under the petitioner's control who are triggers to Elijah. So she's kind of implying here this would be triggering for these triggers to be in control of his money. This would, in my view, jeopardize his recovery efforts. I'm further concerned about the petitioner gaining control over Elijah's estate for other reasons. He's one of the beneficiaries of his late father's trust, and contrary to Cher's pleadings, he has many assets. Thank you. Thank you. Remember how she put it was $0? Cher said that Elijah's whole entire estate is worth only the amount of distributions that he gets from this trust. Not a guitar, not a car, not a house, not a nothing. $0 worth of anything else except this money from this estate, which I assumed was a lie. I assumed it was a lie, but I don't know. Here we go with the wife saying, contrary to what Cher tried to tell you, Elijah has many assets, such as our vehicle and our items that are in storage, such as artwork, antiques, furniture from our previous home in Beverly Hills, analog music equipment, guitars. Yes, I know these guitars are expensive, especially if they were owned by somebody like Greg Allman or even Elijah Blue Allman. Very expensive. And other property, or I should say valuable. Elijah's father, Gregory Allman, also gifted to Elijah. I knew it. It's always about these instruments. It always comes down to the Prince soundboard or Kurt Cobain's guitar. It's always this. It always comes down to these assets. And this is a way, it's like art, to kind of like not really tell people how much you're worth. You might have Elvis Presley's guitar in your basement. You don't report that on your taxes. Nobody knows. The petitioner has been unlawfully holding his valuable antique in her possession for many years. So Gregory Allman has this baby grand piano that belongs to Elijah, and Cher is basically holding it hostage, according to these filings. If she were to gain conservatorship over what he has if she were to gain conservatorship over what Mr. Allman has left for Elijah, I believe Elijah's share of his father's estate, which includes the Allman Brothers publishing rights, which we speculated on here, would all be under Cher and, more alarmingly, Jennifer Ruiz's control. Elijah is my best friend of 12 years. We remain devoted to one another. And in the short amount of time since the last court hearing, Elijah and I have worked as a team to cross one thing off after another off of our list and care for each other. Despite the trustee of the G.A. Robbins Descendants Trust, of Greg Allman's trust, initially unlawfully holding Elijah's quarterly mandatory disbursements, quote, pending a hearing, we have been able to provide for ourselves, including daily commutes to his AA meetings, visits with Dr. Samuels, and recording sessions at his bandmate's music studio. So, according to the allegations in this declaration, the trustee is unlawfully holding Elijah Blue's mandatory trust fund money against him. And this is another thing that this litigation abuse tactic. It's to drain you of all your money. So you just, cry uncle. You just surrender because you're broke, because you have no money and you have no way to make money. In conclusion, I do not believe Elijah needs a conservator of his estate, but if the court is inclined to appoint one, it should not be Cher. Okay. So there's one more document, and it's from Elijah. I saved that one for last. This one's 17 pages long. I have not read one word of it. So let's just get right into it because, like I said, I'm on a little bit of a time crunch. Okay. Supplemental objection to petition for appointment of temporary conservator and objection to payment of attorney's fees. Okay. So he's already made an objection, which we've seen, um, saying no temporary conservatorship should be in place, also no permanent. The hearing coming up in 4 days, 3 days, 4 days is having to deal and having to do with temporary conservatorship. But there's another conservatorship hearing in March that he's going to have to go through again, maybe or maybe not. I'm really not sure. But right now there's 2 scheduled. So he's adding more information, he's objecting again with supplemental information, and he's also objecting to paying John Guy's attorney's fees. Okay. I am Elijah Blue Almond, the respondent / proposed conservatee in the above matter. I offer this declaration as a supplemental declaration, an objection to that which I filed on January 4th, and I incorporate by reference the statements herein. Okay. On January 5th, I attended a hearing before this court on my mother's petition for a temporary conservatorship. My mother did not attend either in person or virtually, which we've discussed ad nauseum on this channel. Because my mother's lawyer's refusal to share the confidential report of attorney John Guy and the confidential supplemental information with me or my preferred counsel, and for their failure to provide me with adequate notice of the proceedings, this court continued the hearing on the temporary conservatorship and pushed it off until January 29th. In the time that has since elapsed, I've also had extensive conversations and meetings with my attorneys, Stephen K. Broomer and Avi Levy of Cage and Miles LLP. I've also engaged with counsel in Georgia. Thank you. Good. And this is something that Christina has been saying and brought to my attention. And I saw she's in this chat, or she was, Silly Pony shout out. Why is California even doing this in the first place? Nothing to do with California. This trust is a Georgia trust. So thank you. I'm glad that Elijah is getting a lawyer to represent him in Georgia, because I don't even think California has jurisdiction over this estate, especially since Cher said he was worth $0 outside of that estate. Okay, Elijah says, I have had the chance, and Monica's here too. Shout out to the members in the chat, Emily, Christy, PM, Monica. I've had a chance to review that court-appointed lawyer's report and the report of the probate investigator. The confidential supplemental information contains reports of mental health professionals and others close to members of my family who are, for lack of a better term, beholden to my mother. So he's saying, yeah, I read all that shit. I read all that crap. And those people are my mom's henchmen and women. They're beholden to her. There's a conflict of interest, Your Honor. I've had a chance to discuss these issues at length with my attorney, Mr. Broomer, or Brummer, I don't know how to say his name, who spoke on my behalf at the hearing. I take issue with the conclusions reached in these reports. And he's probably about to tell us what they are. Again, I have not read these. I haven't read this. At the hearing, the court discharged my appointed attorney, John Guy, and entertained my preference to be presented by Avi Levy and Stephen Brummer of Cage and Miles. At that hearing and in his report, Mr. Guy represented to the court after filing of a confidential report that he had a conflict of interest. Okay, so that court-appointed counsel, we talked about this, came out and said he had a conflict of interest in the case. He could not represent Elijah. Then Elijah had 2 attorneys there already on retainer who had already filed stuff. He had already hired them. It wasn't even on retainer. He had actually hired them, and they had filed stuff. Elijah goes, but in Mr. Guy's report, he states he does not and has not represented any party to this proceeding except as otherwise stated in his report. So it's really confusing to me, Elijah Blue says, what conflict this could be other than his inability to provide me with zealous representation as required by the California Probate Code. And somebody did say, in California, they don't have to say what the conflict is. The lawyers just have to say they have a conflict, which I actually think is fine. I actually think it's fine. If they're not going to be representing anybody in the case anyway, and they are bowing out, I think it's fine. It seems to me that if this matter is presented, sorry, I read that wrong. It seems to me that if this matter presented my court-appointed attorney with a general conflict of interest, such should have been made known to the court and myself before Mr. Guy interviewed me. Oh. Member for 2 months, Amber TSW. So Elijah's saying he had a conflict of interest, but he sure did sit down and interview me. He had a conflict of interest. at the time the case started. But he compiled all these hours and ran up the bill, and now he wants me to pay him for what? He should have told me about the conflict of interest before he put all these hours in. He also interviewed Cher and made a confidential report to which this court might give substantial weight. It was not, oh, sorry, it was only at the hearing on January 5th and in his report that Mr. Guy reported the existence of such a conflict of interest. For that reason, I don't think Mr. Guy should have worked on the case. And although he did, I don't believe I should have to pay him. I further believe this court should either strike his report or refuse to afford any weight to the report, given his stated conflict. Okay, that's a good point. He's got a conflict of interest, Your Honor, and he's already said it under penalty of perjury in many ways, many times. Take that report out of here and don't consider it. Opposition to conservatorship. So here's the part where he's going to oppose the conservatorship. I continue to object to appointment of my mother as the proposed temporary conservator of my estate for the reasons that I'm about to tell you and the ones that I already told you. Query why. He's so proper. Maybe it's his lawyer. Query why the disabilities from which my mother claims I suffer affect only my ability to manage my property. Whew, good point. He's basically saying, okay, my mom thinks I'm so crazy and disabled, but I'm curious to me, interesting to me, that she the only thinks I'm crazy enough to not be able to spend my own money. But everything else seems fine with her. He goes on to say, ironically, primarily the property left to me by my father. Thank you. What we've been saying. And it's what anyone with common sense would say. It's not like we're brilliant geniuses over here. It's just the obvious freaking obvious. Like, she's worried about him, thinks he's going to die, all this stuff. But the only thing she's really worried about is the money his dad left and the publishing royalties that he has a right to. Query me that. Exactly. She has not petitioned to be appointed conservator of my person, despite making some serious allegations about my mental health. I realize the two don't always go hand in hand, but neither is appropriate under this circumstance. In the 2 weeks since that initial hearing, I've been successfully managing my income and expenses. I've refrained from the use of illicit substances that have historically caused the incidents that have given rise to my mother's concern. I've rented a home in Westwood where my wife and I live. I'm presently interviewing candidates to fulfill the role of business manager to offer advice to me on the management of my finances and to ensure that my money is spent appropriately. After the last hearing, I directed Mr. Michael Lehman, who is the trustee of my dad's trust, the source of my trust income from my dad, to pay my lawyers a portion of the quarterly distribution that Mr. Lehman was unlawfully withholding at my mother's request pending the outcome of the hearing. So Elijah Blue called up the trustee of the trust who was unlawfully holding his money from him. And he said, can you pay some of it to my lawyer? I also directed him through his lawyer, Reed Williamson, to pay my attorneys and to pay a storage facility fee of $1,400 so that I owed to the facility, including personal household belongings are there. Pay $327 to the cell phone company so my service wouldn't be suspended. I recognized that these bills needed to be paid, and I made arrangements to have them paid. Good evidence. I also think it's preposterous a grown man is having to account for paying his own bills and the exact dollar and penny amount to a court. It's ridiculous. We've got to come off of this. And this supported decision-making care court act bullshit has just made it way easier for every single one of you that lives in California to be subject to this. Then he says this in bold. I could have demanded that my mandatory distributions be made to me directly as required by the trust, but I did not do so. As set forth above, I've recently hired local counsel in the state of Georgia to represent my rights as beneficiary of that trust, so I can be assured that no further mandatory distributions are unlawfully withheld. Recent interactions with my family law counsel are also relevant. As has been widely reported, I recently requested that my family law counsel, Larry Ginsburg, dismiss my petition for divorce. I am reconciling my marriage with her and we are living together. Mr. Ginsburg, his lawyer, informed me by email that I have outstanding balance due to his firm. Until that time, my mother had agreed to pay and I was paying for Mr. Ginsburg's services. because she has chosen to take an adversarial position to me in this matter and objects to my reconciliation with my wife. Cher, my mother, has refused to pay my lawyer's bill. I engaged his services, and I realize I am liable personally for his fees, despite my mother's withdrawal of financial support. So it was Cher was paying for the lawyer, and now he don't have any access to his money. The trustee is required to give him his money and still hasn't. And so he's kind of trying to lay it out in court why he hasn't paid his bills in case it's held against him, because he's trying to say, look, I don't have the money that I'm relying on, that I'm literally entitled to. On January 17, 2024, I sent Mr. Ginsburg an email acknowledging that and assuring him he will be paid. I am aware of the obligation and I plan to honor it. A true and correct copy of the email is attached as Exhibit A, along with emails sent to the trustee regarding expenses I needed paid from the trust as set forth above. These show clearly and unequivocally I am capable of managing my finances and have been doing so successfully. In addition, in the time between the last hearing and now, I recovered my vehicle from my mother's property in Malibu. So he went and got his car back, or his truck, or whatever it is, which I had reported stolen after she had kept it from me unlawfully on her property. I have renewed my registration for the vehicle, and I have been using it to travel to AA meetings and other appointments. All these actions indicate that I am fully capable of managing my property and my obligations when I am free from substance abuse, which I now am. Now he goes on to a section called drug testing, AA meetings, and therapy. On January 3rd, January 10th, January 16th, January 19th, I voluntarily tested free of alcohol, any and all illicit substances, including but not limited to amphetamines, barbiturates, benzodiazepines, marijuana, cocaine, MDMA, oxycodone, methamphetamines, morphine, and opiates. Copies of those test results are attached. Ooh, getting them, get them. In fact, I have been free of any illicit substances since October 10th of this past year. As of the new year, and as of the time of signing these declarations, I have attended AA meetings on the following days: January 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. I continue to meet with and receive treatment from Dr. Howard Samuels, who I understand will file a declaration of his own opposing this petition. I'm doing 12-step work, and I just reached 30 days of sobriety, first major milestone in recovery. Good job. Congratulations. I'm proud of you, Elijah. There is no emergency. He says there was no, I'm doing well and do not need my mother and do not need the help of my mother. There was no emergency. Actually, he says, I don't need the help my mother is offering, because they call help locking you up in a prison camp in Mexico. There's no emergency that gave rise to a conservatorship at the last hearing, and there is certainly not one now. More than 2 weeks have passed since the last hearing. I've continued to take steps to secure my property, meet my obligations, and resist the temptations that have caused me harm in the past. And I appreciate he's saying this. He's not saying it's easy. He's saying I'm actively resisting the temptation, which shows that I am capable of doing this. I've been living a sober life, reconciling with my spouse, paying my bills, paying attorneys to secure my ability to maintain independent of my mother's control. I remain free of illicit substances, and I remain capable of and committed to managing the money I receive quarterly from the trust left by my late father. Objector, him, Elijah, prays the petition be denied, and for such other and further relief as the court may deem proper. Okay. Here's one of the emails. It's Elijah on the 17th, so like about a week ago. Hi, Larry. I understand I have a balance due to you, $13,000, $5,000. Up until you emailed me on the 1st, I understood that my mother's organization would be paying entirely for your fees, and I've not been made aware of anything otherwise. I understand from your retainer agreement, I am liable for the monies due stated above. I'm currently fighting my mother's efforts to gain a conservatorship over my finances, and I'm doing my best to get my financial affairs in order. I would appreciate, Larry, if you could please give me some time to address my finances with my attorneys and my father's estate so that I can take care of your due balance and get current. I'm very grateful and appreciative for all you have done for me. Sincerely, Elijah Blue Allman. Perfect. It demonstrates to me he's taking care of his affairs. Another email from the day before. Excuse me. Let me go to the bottom of it. 7:44 p.m. Sent Tuesday, January 16th at 7:44. So I guess it's in order already. Hi, Michael. Just following up as per my previous email, I would really like to get my cell phone bill. Imagine having to ask somebody for $300 and your dad had left you this trust. Like, it's humiliating. It's degrading. It's infantilizing. And it encourages like a learned helplessness where nobody's ever going to learn how to do anything on their own. If you got to ask permission from some random freaking guy to pay your damn cell phone bill, it's just infuriating. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay. Um, We had discussed in previous emails. I sent you all the info necessary for it to be paid directly by you and avoid service interruption that would have taken, that I would then have to pay for personally and would need to get personally reimbursed by your authorization, which I believe you are maintaining at present. You would not be willing to do. I have many things to take care of regarding my court case and other matters that require my cell phone bill to be paid. Like trying to like you have to explain to some person why you need a phone. Another one. Look, hi, Michael. Hope your weekend and holiday is well. Very polite, knows how to act. I received a notice from T-Mobile that my bill, which you had said you would take care of directly, is still past due. Please let me know the status. And if you could please get back to me with the confirmation number. It's almost like innocent until proven guilty, but it's almost like a criminal conspiracy to keep him from being able to fight her in court. Almost. I don't know. It's what it kind of appears like. I would appreciate if you send my attorneys $13,000 to replenish their retainer, as I need the Allman estate to cover my public storage bill that is set to go to auction on. Ugh. So they were about to sell all this stuff. Oh my God. This is just infuriating, y'all. It is infuriating. They are holding his money from him. He's actually trying to pay his bills. And this is how it's going. Hi, Elijah. Your attorneys are requesting that Michael send them the remaining $15,000 of your distribution to them because their last bill was for $22,000. They want your remaining $15,000 to be paid to them to cover the bill and replenish your retainer with them. Do you want Michael to send them the $15,000? So it's funny because they're always just happy to pay any and every lawyer, but everything else, no. Okay, what is this? Okay, then he puts his drug test, negative, down the board, negative, 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 negative. Thank you. Negative, 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 negative. Thank you. Again, none, no value, 0. Good job, Elijah. Good job. Nothing. Negative, 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 negative. He ain't even smoking weed. That's legal. He ain't even smoking weed. How's he getting through it? That's what I want to know. Good for him. I'm serious. I know this can't be easy for him. I know it can't be. I know it cannot be. Good job to him. Good job to Mary Angela. I do have to go. So that's all I really had to say for today. Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah. I needed to ban this person. All right. Is the media going to cover this? Well, apparently they already are. So y'all can go and see how the media is covering it now that you've actually read. Again, this is my first case instance of this. I am biased. Yes, I am. This is just my opinion. I'm not trying to act like this is some type of my only opinion is the only one. And I understand reasonable minds can disagree on some of the opinions I've stated in particular about AA. But it's my opinion. And last I checked, I could still say that. That's all I really had for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean. Okay, bye.